This is probably going to sound like the biggest first world problems type of video that I've made in a long time, and I have zero care in the slightest. NASCAR seems dead set right now on slashing their at-track activities for race weekends, and quite frankly, it pisses me off because I think that they are dead wrong to do this. Obviously, since the COVID pandemic ravaged the at-track experience, things haven't been 100% the way they were before 2020. But I'm going to stop kicking the starting point of this video down the track, not that there'd be anyone on the track to actually hit the damn thing, as there will be cars on the track less than most of us would want, with a singular 20-minute practice session, and then after a half-hour break, a 10-minute group qualifying session for everybody on track. Outside of the races themselves, like we're currently seeing, we would only get an additional 30 minutes of on-track time per series. Not exactly preferable for us fans at the track and at home. For the better part of 2 years, NASCAR fans have wanted practice and qualifying back. We've seen both in pretty much every major racing series in the world, but now for us, it's completely neutered. Call me old school, call me nostalgic, but for the most part in my time as a NASCAR fan, it's been 2 long practice sessions a weekend, a long happy hour session, a single car qualifying session, and then the races themselves. While this never has been riveting TV for the most part when it comes to practice and qualifying, it's offered those at the track with a chance to look at and see their favorite drivers and help give them more of a bang for their buck. And this wasn't just for Cup. It also was for Xfinity, Trucks, and whenever ARCA was in town. It's also spanned a 3, sometimes 4-day weekend. Now, I'm not saying that NASCAR needs to go back to that, but having it be a regular thing to have a 2-day weekend with such little track time is completely wrong. If you ask me, a single happy hour per series and 1 single car qualifying session per series would work just as well. This easily can fit into 2 days of busy at-track weekends, and it can also fit into a moderately busy track time of a 3-day weekend. These fans at the track, especially those in the RVs and the infields, spent hundreds, and for some, thousands of dollars to get their tickets for the weekends, and they deserve to either pay less for these tickets because they're getting less of a product, or they should basically get what they've paid for years. NASCAR is unique in American sport in plenty of ways, and one of those is the fact that the sport broadcasts its practice and qualifying to our fan base. But the on-track product is only one aspect of the at-track experience, probably the most important if we're being completely honest. But for a lot of fans, the outside attractions also are pretty damn important. Now, I have been to 11 race weekends this year, so you can say I've been to quite a few. Some sold out, some half empty, some under COVID protocols, some as media. I've went as pretty much everything this year. The constants are a few haulers for merchandise and sponsor areas, as well as the Army thinking that maybe this weekend Iceberg will join the Army. Suffice to say that unless you're getting driver merch, there isn't a ton to do for most other fans. But there is one great difference I've seen in recent races, and that is the eNASCAR display area. Say what you want about NASCAR 21, it has its problems, and it's definitely the reason this is there to market it. But for me, the coolest thing that I've seen at the tracks recently is the excitement that kids have to either play as their favorite drivers or play any kind of video game at the track. That kind of deal that really just adds meaningfulness to a child's memories at the track is something that we really need to push as NASCAR overall. So, I want to say right now that this display needs to be a mainstay. It needs to be at every single track next year. Another amenity that should be at every track possible is a go-kart course. And I'm not talking about the watered-down governored ones either. I'm talking about the ones you have to sign a waiver to run. They had those at COTA and Road America this year, and back in 2019, they had them at the finale at Homestead. It's something that is fun for everybody, and it especially caters to those in their early 20s who want to seek a little bit of a thrill during their race weekend outside of watching the race itself. This is exactly the base that NASCAR is trying its best to get and has really failed at doing. I think attractions and amenities like this are huge for the sport and can really draw them in. And if tracks want to do unique things for themselves, I think the more the merrier. For instance, at Michigan this year, it was hot as hell outside, around 90 degrees. So, an ice cream truck was driving around the infield as well as in the outside concourse area of the track. It was a hit. So, tracks need to be introspective. They need to know what fits their tracks and, more importantly, what fits each track's fans. But I think there needs to be some more support from the TV providers as well. They're not innocent either. Back when I was a kid, I really was spoiled with being a new NASCAR fan, as I got tons of entertainment about the sport on TV from the Speed Channel. And there were three big ones that I really loved to watch. There was Trackside. It was a live talk show with some of the most respected media members from Fox Sports at the time. Often they were visited by a guest driver, and it was a good watch or listen to on a weekend night. In hindsight, it would have actually made for a really good podcast in today's media environment. So just saying, if Fox Sports wants to rekindle that in some way, it'd be really cool. There also was NASCAR Race Day, where John Roberts, Kenny Wallace, and Jimmy Spencer hosted a college game day-like pre-race show that was before every single race, live at the track. There was insight from the garage, competitors, NASCAR execs, and more. There was news, there were interviews. The three hosts would participate in debates about the sport as well that were not very popular with those running the sport. It was a live show where fans could vocally participate and were seen in the background with signs. It was the furthest thing from the sterile green screen studio NASCAR Race Hub pre-race show that we get today. It's probably the most popular of the old Speed Channel shows as well. And then, of course, after the race, there was NASCAR Victory Lane, a post-race show from, well, Victory Lane for the most part, where you'd see recaps of the previous race, thoughts on it, the impact the race had on the points battle, and of course, words from the race winner in an interview. These three shows give a more bright look and breath of fresh air to the sport, both at the track and on TV, but especially at the track, as the first two heavily involved fan interaction. Crowds lining up behind the stages, cheering and booing depending on whatever happened in a party-like atmosphere, especially NASCAR Race Day. This kind of engagement just isn't in the sport anymore. Sure, Kenny Wallace and John Roberts are going to be doing sort of a rekindling of the race day crew at Gateway next year, but that's just one race. There needs to be a lot more to get people excited to be there early at the races. We need fans to be excited not only for the race, but for the event as a whole. When the selling point for your pre-race show is an out-of-prime country artist, don't expect many people to get excited or try and drag their friends to it. I'm not saying that you need to get Beyonce or Billie Eilish or whoever the hell is popular now. I mean, come on, man. You literally have Pitbull as a team owner. He's right there. He could just do an impromptu concert whenever the hell he wants if you want him to. Just try to branch out with different people when you do these things. Don't just trot out the same country artists who are friends with the drivers because they couldn't get a gig somewhere else. It's increasingly obvious that NASCAR is even falling behind the other racing series now in America when it comes to attracting younger fans. So do some of these things and return to some of the things that have been tried and true amenities, even if it costs a lot of money, because the payoff will be worth it long term. It'll be a good start in making NASCAR a viable option for young and newer fans to go to. Because NASCAR, of all sports, has the most potential of any of them in America to basically build an entire entertainment-based city around a racing event for a weekend. But that's just my thoughts on the deal that NASCAR has going on at and around the tracks, or lack thereof. Now I want to hear what you think of the matter. What do you want to see at NASCAR races in the future that's outside of the races themselves? Aside from better Wi-Fi, these tracks are connection deserts, y'all. Let me know down in the comments below, though. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you to all of the great channel members that I have for your continued support. Y'all are amazing. And until next time, have a good one.